Hi, guys. Hi, everybody. Happy Thursday. So glad you're able to join us. Anybody who still needs to get on, it's not too late. Tell them to go ahead and hop on because this is a topic you don't want to miss. The panel of gentlemen we have are just so dynamic. I'm so honored and proud to have them on my panel to talk about this very kind of touchy topic. It's always been kind of a stigma in our community, but like I said on one of my posts, we're going to get it out, talk about it, and discuss it because it needs to be talked about. It's one of those things that we need to discuss, especially with the fragility of our Black men that it seems to be happening in our community or just in our society. So I wanted to take this opportunity, since it's Mental Health Awareness Month, to come on and not only support our men, but also get their perspective on what they go through on a daily, mentally, and what we can do to change the paradigm. Okay, so Ray, my IT guy, co-host, he's gonna be more IT on this one because we got on a different platform and we got a couple of people that we have to get on and make sure everybody's good and can be seen and heard. So he's going to do his professional magical thing over on the sidelines. Helping him out is my other nephew, Brandon. So glad to have both of them there. Just been so wonderful. So you tell me when. Are they on? Or?
Yeah, everybody's on.
Okay, everybody's on. Hi, guys. I can't see anybody. Oh. Am I supposed to?
Well, you want to introduce them first?
Yeah, I got to see them so I can connect.
All right.
Hi, gentlemen. Hi, guys. I'm going to see you in a minute. You know how you got to see somebody in order to have that connection. You understand? You get me? I got to see them.
Maybe.
I don't know. They ease me so I can go to get on into the topic. Hi, gentlemen. I can't see you yet, but know that I'm saying hello. Welcome. So happy you guys are here.
Can you see
Hi, everybody. Hi. Hi, Charles. Hi, Mike. Where the other Mike? Did he hop on yet?
You got Mike Green, you got Neil and Charles.
I don't know where Mike Thompson is. But okay, that's all right. Hi, Neil. You made it.
How you doing?
Neil was he was racing the clock. So thank you, gentlemen, so much for being here. I'm just going to do a quick, I kind of already did the purpose of why we're here. And in my rush to get everything done, I forgot to tell you guys to send me a little bit about yourself, but it's okay because you're here. You can do it better than me, right? So just quickly tell the people how wonderful you are and what you do and just quickly, what you do. Charles, you can start.
Okay. Hi, everybody. My name is Charles Watkins. I am currently an assistant United States attorney in the Western District of New York. That means I live in Buffalo, where it gets ridiculously cold. I'm very happy to be a part of this panel. Thank you, Les, for having me.
Okay, Mike Green.
Hello and good evening, everybody. Good to see you again, Miss Best. And
very good to see you.
Good to join up with Tyson Storehouse. But my name is Michael Green, everybody. My official role each day is I'm a Dean of Culture and Instruction for Uplift Education. And there, of course, as you know, it can get interesting each day, but I get a chance, the blessing really to work with thousands and hundreds and thousands of families and students alike. And it's just a great opportunity to be here to talk about something that affects them each and every day.
Right.
Thank you all for doing this here.
Thank you, Mike. And Neil.
Yes, good afternoon. My name is Neil Phillips. I serve as founder and executive director of Guide Outreach, a 501c3 nonprofit organization here serving metro Atlanta areas, guiding the next generation of leaders to their highest capabilities while uplifting our communities to their utmost potential. This is a very meaningful discussion, very meaningful topic, and I'm just very excited and thankful to be here to talk about it. So thank you for the invitation.
Absolutely. Thank you, guys. As you can see, and as I promised everybody, you hear for yourself. the dynamicness, is that even a word, is going to be today.
Today it is.
It is.
Today.
Of this word, because these guys are just great. I can go on and on about them, but we're going to get into it because we want to hear what they have to say. Before we start, let me just put out a few facts. I don't know if you guys know a lot about mental health. It wasn't really my thing in nursing. My brother is a mental health nurse, and my other brother he dabbles in it as well, works in a psychiatric hospital, but it was never really my thing until all of this stuff started happening in the world, racially, socially. All of this stuff started happening. I've already known because I'm Black, but still from a gentleman's perspective, I didn't have that perspective. But then all of this started happening, and I couldn't imagine what they're already going through on top of their everyday lives. So that made me want to get into it. So let me just go into these facts right quick. So according to the Health and Human Service Office of Minority Health, Black adults in the U.S. are more likely than white adults to report persistent symptoms of emotional distress, such as sadness, hopelessness, and feeling like everything is an effort. Black adults living below the poverty line are more than twice as likely to report serious psychological distress than those with more financial security. However, despite them reporting their needs, only 1 in 3 Black adults who need mental health care receive it. According to the American Psychiatric Association's Mental Health Facts for African Americans guide, they are also less likely to receive guideline consistent care, less frequently included in research, more likely to use emergency rooms or primary care rather than mental health specialists. That there was a hard hitter for me because we're already underinsured as a community, but to use the emergency room as a place to go for your mental health instability is almost sickening, because that is not the place to go for that. But that's kind of where we are. Also, a study showed that 63% of Black people believe that a mental health condition is a sign of personal weakness. Another topic, another reason that I wanted to do this, because this is kind of the consensus across the board in the Black community. You're soft, you're weak if you have mental issues, or even act like you might have some mental problems. As a result, people may experience shame about having a mental illness and worry they may be discriminated against due to their condition. This fear could prevent people from seeking mental health care when they really need it. So, let me just say this one more. I thought this was interesting. In 2018, 11.5% of Black adults in the US had no form of health insurance. And the Black community, like other communities of color, are more likely to experience socioeconomic disparities, such as exclusion from health, educational, social, and economic resources. These disparities may contribute to worse mental health outcomes. In a gist, we ain't making this up. These are facts. This is what's happening, and it's time for us to talk about it. So let's get into it, okay? Guys, I sent you some questions to prepare, but I want you to be, just like I said, real open. If you feel comfortable, share your experiences of what you go through. And we're just gonna get into it, okay? So Charles, let's start with you, just because you're at my top left on my screen. No favoritism, guys. Charles is in my top left. So Charles, what areas of concern in the community contribute to an unstable state of mental health, in your opinion?
I think for me, it's an amalgamation of things. Like, it's a lot, but I think if I had to distill it down, for me personally, it's health. Access to healthcare, knowledge of healthcare, knowledge of your conditions, trusting doctors, and just feeling safe when you go to the doctor. I think that's a big contributor to mental health.
That's huge. Yeah, that's huge. Absolutely. Guys, what do you think? And you guys jump in whenever you have a thought or feel like it. We're all friends here. Just jump in.
Yeah, I would also like to add that I think for myself and many other young men, a contributing factor would be just that desire to want to be great and and pushing yourself and just constantly wanting to achieve. And then there's occurrences that take place sometimes where one may be doing a lot, but they don't feel like it's up to par like to be, or that they're truly achieving their goals. Because achieving goals, that's a process. That's something that takes time. So many times we can get discouraged and not seeing the results we're looking for, whether that be in a week, a month, maybe even a year. So I think that a lot of times we can be rough on ourselves in that
Right.
aspect.
Absolutely. Mike, what you think?
Yeah, I would add that in general, I do think that we know that most things are systemic too. And so I think as we think about communities, I think the
Mhm.
largest area of concern is like, what is the fabric of the community, right? What are the systems set up in communities? And I think once you start to really dig into the different systems that are set in those communities, you start to understand like certain communities just happen to set up systems where mental health is available up and down the board in every crack of the
Wow. Wow.
and you look on the same, across town in those communities, they don't even school kids with SEL. They don't even, and so you start to really understand like the largest concern is just like the fabric of the community, and then who's going to be the guardian of what that community is made up of. Because I think there goes the hope, right? If you can really understand, like we got to really break down every single system in
Hmm.
our mental health system, and how do we even? Because it's even systematic how we talk about it. How do we start to talk about it as people?
Right.
So I think the largest area of concern is just literally what are the systemic structures that you have in place in each community.
Right. That's absolutely, I believe, the foundation of the beginning, if that makes sense. Like if you want to start something, you got to know what you're fighting. You got to know what you're trying to build. And because systemically we're so oppressed, I think that is perfect. That's perfect to think about and even try to start. So, guys, let's get into this. I think this was probably my favorite question because I'm not a dude, but I'm not a guy. But I thought this
I
was,
hope not.
you always got something to say over there. So, sorry, cutting up. So, yeah, so I thought that was this was my favorite because I'm dying to hear what you guys think. If this is for real true across the board, is masculinity autonomous and I'm sorry, antonymous with mental health? Is embracing mental health issues considered soft in our community? Neil, let's start with you.
Yeah, I will say that in the community, I've seen it where that can be the thought process. Whether that's what I think, I do not think that, but I think that there is kind of this idea within the community that seeking that help can make you weak, or it is the fear of being vulnerable to someone else and telling them what it is that you're
Mhm.
going. I more so think it's it's a combination of fear of weakness and a fear of vulnerability that makes a lot of young men in general afraid to seek that help or to seek that assistance in
Right,
those areas. And I think that that may also come from older males who may say the same things and say, "Hey, get over it, toughen up." That just may be how you were raised,
right.
um, and
Old school thinking.
yeah, that becomes what you're
Right.
accustomed to. Hey, I need to just toughen up. I don't need to seek help for this. I can just get through it myself because that's what I've been raised to think. But yeah, I think it's just that of vulnerability ultimately.
Hmm. Charles.
I think that I know that there are some older men who think that, but I think it's a young man's thing, right? So,
Wow. Okay.
and I think that like when I was younger, I was very anti, you know, asking for help, very anti, feeling my feelings, for lack of a better term. And then as I got older, I started to realize that, the older you get, the more you realize that that's how you become a whole person.
Mm.
You feel your feelings, you access your feelings. So I think that, it is very anti-masculine, it's very soft. Like the guys feel like that when they're younger. And I think
Mm.
if you're surrounding yourself with, people who are strong, people who can understand those feelings, people who can feel those feelings with you, then you'll eventually grow out of that. I think it's a maturity thing more than anything.
Okay. I can get with that. I can understand that. I guess, and put a pin in, because Mike, I'm coming to you. Charles, I like what you said, but I'm also wondering, where did that even start from? Like you said, when you were younger, you did think it was like anti-masculine, but from where? Like, are we getting that from our fathers, the community? Like, where is that even coming from?
I remember when I was a kid, about 8 years old. I remember what happened. I won't embarrass myself with the story of what happened, but I got upset and I cried about it, and I got a whooping for crying. So in my brain, I associated, crying with negative consequences. Associated being sad and feeling emotions with negative consequences.
Wow.
So that's, for me, that's where it started.
That's crazy. Mike, what you think?
I think you were reading my mind when you started to ask where it came from, and I think this is one of those yes and type of responses, and also has like an air of hopeful optimism at the end. I think we know we've been talking about it. It's does have a lot to do with generations, right? And the older you are, it does seem that you hold on to that, but you got to think about what was happening during those times and who Black men had to be to a community during those times, right? And our parents have gotten us more sound with being able to not view it as soft to express feelings. But there is this society that we live in as Black men that still allows us to always have that little tinge in it. But we do better, and we do better as we become more intellectualized about mental health. We understand. My dad doesn't even call it South because there's a gap, there's a bridge that we're gapping, that we're putting together each time, and so I think ultimately, yes, it comes from, what we deal with in society, especially as Black men uniquely. You can never really let your guard down, right? But we understand now more and more that, yeah, we do need that help. And so we reach out. And like you said, Charles, I think, yeah, there are young kids who immaturely don't understand anger. We're men, testosterone, we got to figure that out in general across the board. But it is hopeful when you get a young man who goes through something tough, like at the schools I work at, who can come in and say things that 40-year-old men couldn't say. Like, hey, you know what, my anger got the best of me. That is a generational shift that we just got to believe is going to get better as we just start to educate and learn more and understand more. And so, yes, it is viewed as soft, but I understand why in certain ways. And I think we're definitely trying to move past it.
I completely agree. Can you put my screen up so when I look at them, I don't have to look down? Like, can we put it on something?
Oh, you want to move this up?
Yeah, like move it, because when I'm looking at them, I'm looking down and away. So completely agree with all that. I think, like I said, one of my favorite questions to ask, or on this panel, like I ain't never really asked it before, but thank you. So yeah, that is such an interesting take, how each of you pretty much said the same thing but different. Especially Neil, I think being the youngest, had his own perspective on it as well, but it all kind of ties in. And what I want us to remember toward the end of this conversation is what Mike just said. I think we'll continue to get better and better, but we don't want to just gloss that over. We want to really talk about how we can get better, pinpoint it. What are we doing to make that change? What happened that now we're not as about everything as men, but now we're getting a little more, pliable, and we're able to talk about things a little bit better. What happened to make that happen, and so we can continue it. But we'll touch on that in just a minute. I'm gonna ask you guys this not on the it's not on the questions I sent you, so it's on the whim, it's on the flip. So be honest, do y'all cry?
Yes.
Yes.
That's too easy. It is my secret weapon, especially working around young men every single day. It is amazing to get a young man who believes in you already, and then turn that cry on them.
Right.
Because they understand, oh, wait a minute, this is all right. You know what I'm saying? And so it is, it's a thing that I unfortunately have kind of fallen in love with as a part of practice, but also as a part of like a natural release and just understanding it's a human being, natural thing that you conquer. But oh, absolutely, we're crying a lot over
Show the shade.
Ugly face.
Right, ugly face. And you know, I think it has, and I'm gonna get off this question, but it's so loaded. But a lot of it also, I think, comes from the roles that society has put on these genders. You know, you men are supposed to do this, and women are supposed to do this. And like Mike said, we're slowly getting out of that, and hopefully it'll continue to move forward. But I think, you know, men are starting to see, Black men are starting to see, hey, it's okay. I'm human. I'm not a robot. I'm going to cry. I'm going to get angry. But it's all about knowing how to hone those emotions, and especially anger, and do what we need to do to communicate with each other better surrounding those emotions. So I'm with Mike. I know we could do it. Okay, guys, so I'm going to move on to the next question. Please share a situation where racism played a factor in your mental stability. Now, I want you to think about this, because not just a racial situation, because I know as Black men, you guys have gone through it. I want to know one that really tugged and did a little number on your mental stability. Oh, sorry, guys. I said we can just jump up and say, Neil, let's hear from you.
Yeah. So when it comes to the approach of racism at this point, how people decide to behave or how they interact, I've kind of gone beyond letting that disturb me of how people choose to be ignorant in those cases. But in regard to something that does regard race, that has touched my mental and has affected me, I immediately think of the social injustices that we're seeing now, the police brutality that I'm seeing now, and that we've seen in the past and for many years. Just an understanding that any one of us on this call, no matter how successful, no matter how educated, no matter how well prepared, can be in similar situations to those we see.
Absolutely.
So I take that into consideration, and obviously, I'm not one to shape the way that I operate or the way that I move around the ignorance of others. But then at the same time, there's that constant realization that that's what many young men have to deal with, young Black men of color, even women of color have to deal with in regards to brutality and the social justices that we're seeing now. So that's something that has weighed on me, and as a result has led to me trying to find solutions, trying to find ways that I can use my platforms and my abilities to kind of bring awareness to that and figuring out ways we can work around that.
Right, absolutely, especially in this climate. Mike.
Yeah, I'm gonna exercise a bit of mental health. This one is tough, you know. I think, and calling it out is what it is here for me. I think and my reference point often, y'all, is education. Is what I do every day, you know. And so, but I think you get confronted with this because of that. It's a systematic, it's a systemic, you know, situation education that, you know, has some racial underlines there, and a lot of them not some. But I think what consistently weighs, and it's at whatever school I go to, or whatever, you know, leadership opportunity I get when I get to work with adults who are not African American.
Okay.
And that understanding that you stand in the gap to help not be upset by their biases, but be upset by their biases, to make sure those things don't trickle down to students. And that is a mental dance that you have to do often, because it goes right back to that Black man. You got to be strong because you got to be principled. You can't really show that you're that personally affected by the way this teacher's feeling, or this way this colleague is feeling, or the way this person's feeling. Yeah, it's a battle. And I think in general, when we are trying to, as African American men, trying to stand in the gap to try to get one side to understand another, it's often putting aside our own mental health and the real trauma that it takes to have to play that day, you know, to walk. And so I think for me, that's a, you know, a day-to-day thing that I just have to continue to check in about, because there are little ways that you confront it and very little, you know, unconscious ways, and even worse, there are very conscious ways that you have to confront it.
Right.
So that's one of the mental dances for me that I think is so super important, though, because as a Black man, I do take my duty to stand in there with strength and clarity and all that stuff. So you got to do it, but it's heavy and it's not easy.
Right. Oh, wow. Charles,
I think that for me, so I've been very successful in my career, and I'm very happy with that. But where I like the higher I go, the more lonely it is professionally.
Wow.
So, like I'm oftentimes one of one in a room.
Hmm.
And it's not because I'm so much better than people who look like me. It's because people who look like me aren't given that opportunity.
Hmm.
And so for me, I constantly feel like I have to not just be the best man I can be at my job, the best lawyer I can be at my job, the best prosecutor I can be. I have to be the best black man. I have to be the best black lawyer. I have to be the best black prosecutor. And that's a byproduct, it's a construct of racism. Because I feel like I have to do 10 times more to just not so much for me, but so that the next person they hire when a position comes open might look like me.
Right.
So that is, let me just tell you, that weighs heavily on me.
Right.
Something I take lightly, but it and it's almost like on the flip side of that, because I am where I am, because I look like what I look like, I'm constantly waiting for the other shoe to drop. I'm waiting for the people who I work with to realize that, wait a minute, we let one in. We got to get him out of here.
Thank y'all, goodness. Wow. Like I am so floored. I know this, but the way you're telling me, I know it. You know what I mean? Like I'm really getting it. Thank y'all so much for the realness. I see it. For the realness. And let me just pinpoint right quick, guys, before we get to this question. What you all are saying is mental health instability in itself. The fact that you have to be better. You don't feel you have to be better. You have to be better. When Mike was saying he has to juggle with, standing in the gap and being the black man and being the the mentor, but then having to fight those feelings of you say what now? I mean, it's a battle. When Neil was saying he has to think about it as he's going out, these racial discriminations that are thrown at him all the time, you thinking about those things, just because he's educated or just because, he may wear suits or dress nice does not, negate who he is. So let me take this question. BJ asks, have you ever been judged because of your hair or appearance? Any one of you guys can answer.
Not to my face.
Yeah.
I haven't heard it just yet. Maybe I haven't heard it, but I definitely know that I have friends who've experienced that. I'm new, as y'all can see, so we'll see as long the longer this goes. See how long it takes. But no, it hasn't happened to me
Let me
directly.
So it hasn't come to you.
let me
No,
rephrase that.
Okay. But Charles, has it come to you?
And it's funny, I had an older black boss who told me I needed to cut my hair.
Wow.
Um,
People
and it goes back to that old mentality of, you got to look like this or they won't accept you. And,
Mm.
so to that question, I will say I have, but it's been by black people. And I tell them that my credentials walk through the door before my hair does. So it doesn't matter.
Wow. Wow. And it's interesting, Neil, let me say this right quick before I get to you. It's interesting that a black man said that to you. And I don't want to throw him under the bus, but I almost feel like it may be because he think he's helping you.
Right.
He think he's telling you, hey, do this so you'll have it easier.
Right.
Hey, look like this so you won't have all that, the stigma around, your hair. I really do feel he was probably he thought he was helping you to fit in. Neil, have you been discriminated against because of your hair or appearance?
Yeah, I've never
Did he
been
freeze?
discriminated against to my face, as
Okay.
my friend here has mentioned, but similar sentiment to Charles. You have those that may say, for example, how my hair is as we speak. I apply a sponge to my hair. I like to twist it out, and they say, "Hey, man, I don't know if that's ideal for the workplace and working in higher education." And to me, it makes me want to twist my hair out more because what I'm going to do is I'm going to wear my hair how I please, and then as Charles
Mm-hmm.
mentioned, I'm going to do a great job at what I do. And then you're going to see furthermore that it doesn't matter, even though we already knew that it doesn't matter.
Right.
I'm going to just prove
Right.
that to you. Instead of changing my hair, I'm not going to make myself uncomfortable based on the way that you're thinking. What I'm going to do is do exactly what I know that I'm capable of, do a great job. And then you're going to have to change your mindset, but I won't change mine.
Absolutely. Oh my gosh. Yes, that is so true. So what I'm hearing again, the nurse in me, is I want everybody out there to understand, as well as my panel, to understand these are tiny instabilities that you still have to deal with. You don't think about it. If you're a Black man, you do your hair, you go to work, you do your thing because that's what you do. But just the fact that you have to even consider that, you have to even think about that. Those are pressures that other cultures don't have to deal with. I'm sorry, I believe, unless I'm wrong, I might be. I don't know any other culture whose hair grows the way ours does and looks naturally the way ours does. Well, not mine, but y'all.
You fly that, lay it to the side.
Yeah, lay it to the side. But yeah, so I feel like that's extraness on you guys. It's more pressure, which we don't realize is mental instability. It is, and that's what we deal with.
I have a question for the panel. Do you feel like you had to look, quote unquote, acceptable before you could look like you wanted to? And what I mean by that is get in the door, prove yourself, and then once you prove yourself, you can, quote unquote, let your hair down.
That's a good point. Did everybody hear? Did you guys hear? Okay.
Yeah.
Anybody?
I used to feel that way, but I mean, I guess the older I get, the less I care. You're either going to accept me for who I am or you're not, because the next person will, the next job will, the next office will. So, but I used to feel that way. I've cut my hair a few times for a job interview or to get my foot in the door, and then I got to the point where I was like, why am I changing who I am? Why am I changing the person that I am? Because if you're hiring the dude with the short haircut, then you're not really hiring me.
Wow.
So
Wow. But so many of you guys feel like you have to do that though.
Right.
So you're really changing who you are and you're not presenting who you are. This is somebody else. It's not really who you are to fit in. And how long have we been doing that? How long have we been passing, the things that we've been doing because we can't be our real self? Mike, what you think?
I mean, I think I get lucky here in this question, honestly, because if you know me, I've always been the type who just dressed up, right? I mean, when we went to uniforms in high school, I was like, bet I'm gonna get me some hard bottoms and it's gonna be buttoned down. And that's probably the church upbringing, whatever. I think I get a little lucky in this stance. And so when it comes to like dressing down, my dressing down sometimes seems up. And so I honestly have not been able to have this experience just because it's just who I am. It's just the way. And I have not had to confront who I am, really.
Right.
Because it is who I am,
Yep. Exactly. And that's a struggle in itself, trying to, getting to where you are so you can be yourself. Everybody's not there. So like I said, you're a unicorn, Mike.
Right.
So one of my co-workers, very respected, I love Pat. She was saying that this is also students. She does all kind of stuff, but she's saying that the students are subjected to those same biases in the classroom, and they are. In nursing school, and she's seen this stuff, the undertone racist comments that's sometimes spoken either intentionally or unintentionally. These are things that she's seen and it's happening. It's just so unfortunate, but I'm still trucking with, we're going to get better and better. I'm still going with it. Let's move on right quick. How do we begin to dispel the stigma of mental health within our community? I think Mike touched on it a little bit, but what can we do? How can we begin? Where can we even start? It seems so big, the problem seems so big. Charles, I see you taking in the air. You about to say something?
I think we start small with how we treat each other.
Mhm.
And I'll give you a perfect example. When I was in law school, we had the head of our career services department was a Black woman, right? And my resume got picked out of a diversity handbook by a law firm. They wanted to interview me. They wanted to give me a job. But I was my
Mhm.
law school. I was like, cool, this is cool. I didn't even apply, but they liked me. So
Mhm.
I went to her because she's career services, a Black woman, a sister. So I'm like, all right, so we can relate. And I was like, so this is what's going on. This is where we are. This is what's happening. And she told me, she said, and I remember this. She said, well, are they okay with the fact that you're going to fail the bar the first time you take it? And I was like, say what? So you just decided, based on who I am, based on how I look, based on whatever, I'm going to fail the bar the first time I take it. And that stuck with me, and
Wow.
it made me doubt myself for the rest of that year. It made me doubt whether or not I was worthy of them even wanting my resume. It made me
Wow.
doubt whether or not I was worthy of passing the bar. So the first thing we do to dispel the stigma of mental health in our community is we change the way we treat each other.
Mm. That's
Yeah.
huge, Charles. That is huge. And what I got from that situation, from that story, was you were probably cool before you went in,
Yeah.
confidence wise. You were probably fine. And just that little bit, just her saying that, just killed it, just squashed it.
Mm-hmm.
And you're right. I wonder how many people know that. I wonder how many times we need to, step back and just think about what we say before we say it, especially to each other. Whether it's, oh, how, we say those things. Some of that stuff needs to go out the window. And we needs to be more supportive, even if it's a jest or even if it's, oh, this is how we always said it to each other. It's just not cute anymore. It's time to move past that. What do you think, Neil? What do you think we need to do to begin?
Just quickly before I get into that, just thinking about what Charles just mentioned. Think about his experience as a college student. Somebody told him that, and it rubbed him the wrong way. He overcame it to be successful, of course, but at that time, it didn't sit well. Think about that same conversation taking place with someone that is in elementary or middle school, and how that can throw their whole trajectory off of their life goals or what it is that they want to accomplish. Because while Charles was in college, he was equipped to overcome that. A middle schooler or someone who's younger may not be equipped mentally to even deal with that doubt or to overcome that type
Hmm.
of doubt. It may just give up on a goal that they may have had. Thinking about what he mentioned and how important it is to, instead of, let's say the bar, instead of saying, well, you're going to do a great job, I trust that you put in the work and I know you're going to do well, someone comes and tells you how hard it is. Instead, we know how hard it is, but instead of, putting that out there, just take it as an opportunity to uplift. So ultimately,
Right.
I think more uplifting. I think our young leaders and our leaders in the community to lead by example, by those who are suffering from mental health concerns, go in, see a therapist, seek therapy, and you come back and you be that person that a youth can refer to in your experience and going and how it uplifted you or how it made you better.
Easy. Thank you, Neil. I got most of what you were saying. I don't want to cut you off because I know you're freezing a little bit, and I don't want to cut you off. But I heard the gist of what you were saying. That
Yeah,
the things that we need to do to begin to change this stuff, and all of those things. Both Charles and Neil, absolutely. Start small, be nice, to each other, be kind. Mike, what you think on this question?
Yeah, I love listening to these guys. It's just cool to be in alignment too with two other black men. So I appreciate like doing this with you two fellas. Because I'm gonna like continue with that same trend and maybe add like one extra thing. I think yeah, it's about really that unconditional love that we're showing each other. But I think born out of like being really informed about our struggle as African American people and what we've been through. And we just got to be real and say, how dare us not check in on our mental
Hmm.
health? So, like, give that love and grace because we know for all of us at some level have been through a struggle just by virtue of lineage. And so I think definitely that love and grace. But, I think sometimes it's easy to say that. But what reminds us to do that is
Yes.
remembering that we've not always been so. And even if we have, a parent wasn't or somebody else wasn't. And so I think that's the first part. But then the second part, I think, because I'm like, I really like us to be really actionable as a community. Like, I'm challenging, and even I'm gonna get off and do this in just a second. But what does it look like to start small? And every one of us every African American person create your mental health action plan. Because mental health and achieving good mental health is not about confronting the moment when it comes. It's about having a plan to live a mentally healthy life. And so, like, I'm challenging us to, like, if we really want change, let's not just talk about it, let's be about it. What does it mean in your life? You know, and so for me, that is the one of the small things, understanding that it starts here at home, right? And so, like, what are you doing for yourself? I think that's the hardest thing you could do.
Absolutely, because mental stability tends to be like a vine. If I got it, then I'm gonna get you, and it kind of just spreads in that way. Because when you're whole and when you're sound, and mentally, it tends to reflect to the environment around you. It does, and I'm so agreeing with that. It is crucial that we do that. Start within ourselves. You know, like you said, make a mental health plan. What you doing about it? How are you getting all of this stuff together, all your ducks in a row for your life? What you were saying, Henry?
Well, I was going to say something else. Normalize therapy.
Did everybody hear that? Normalize therapy. I feel like that could be a T-shirt. You know? Normalize therapy, like for real. That's all you need. Powerful 2 words. And we're going to get into that a little. Not well, we really won't get into it, but I did put some. I'm going to put some things up for people to go, avenues and facilities and websites and things that people can go to if you feel like you do want to make some changes and you feel like, hey, I think my mental health may be a little rocky, and it's okay. That's what this whole discussion is about. We all go through it. And I wanted other Black men to see you guys talking about it, to know that it's okay. It's okay. What's not okay is not addressing it and not doing anything about it. Okay. So last question before we get out of here. What does self-care look like for you individually? What do you think? What does it look like for you? What do you do to make sure you're caring for yourself mentally? Guys,
I'll jump in there. I'll jump in there. I think for me, mostly because I think it's still a great thing, right? I just was mentioning to somebody that what I do is education, right? And I come home, but I'm starting to understand and feel like it is more really just having moments alone, like and not being ashamed of that, and not feeling guilty about, you know, cutting it off at a certain point. I think that's the thing that I'm working on. But I will be honest, like, that self-care thing is still a journey, and I think that's just me being totally vulnerable and honest in this moment.
All I want. Honestly, you know, yes.
Still trying to figure it out.
Yeah, it can be challenging. It can be challenging because I think, in my opinion, we don't know how to love on ourselves. We don't really understand how that works as a community. And I'm not saying we weren't shown. Everybody is different. But just showing that genuine love to yourself, which all that is care, is just love. You loving on yourself and you being concerned about your wholeness, your completeness. And it's okay, but we're getting there. We're getting there, Mike. No judgment. Charles, how about you? What does self-care look like for you? What do you do to make sure you stay whole?
I think that the biggest thing for me to make sure that I'm taking care of myself is making sure that I tell the people who are close to me and around me how I feel. And I'm crazy, right? But, like, you know, I want my wife to know when I'm tired. I want her to know when I'm feeling sad, when I'm feeling happy, because I want to be honest with her so that she knows what I need, because that relieves me of stress. It makes me feel good. It takes a burden off of me. And so if I just carry all of that, then it just weighs me down. So self-care for me is just being honest with the people who I love, you know.
Wow.
That's a big sign of vulnerability. And that is something that outside of therapy, we need more vulnerability to, you know, have that safe space, Charles, like you said, with people you care
To
about,
speak, yeah.
to be able to say how you truly feel.
Mhm.
You know, that vulnerability. Oftentimes we talk about fortifying or shielding up as men. You know, we fortify, and one thing I always describe to a lot of mentees is water. As pure as water is, if it's stagnant, it will stale. It will grow bacteria. So when
It'll
we
stay.
fortify, um, yes, nothing can get into quote unquote harm us, but nothing can get out, and that's poisoning us. So that vulnerability in that safe space is huge.
Very, very big. That is a big deal. Neil, did I get him?
No.
Okay, that's a shame. Just old. Okay, Neil, tell me what you do to make sure you stay whole
Yeah,
or attempt
please
to
let me know.
stay whole.
The audio is choppy. I apologize because it seems like it's freezing a bit on
Can
my
you
end.
hear him
I'm
better
clear.
now?
But in regard to myself, I would say the fellas mentioned all the top points. I won't I won't repeat on what they mentioned, but something that works out for me, and I'm still I'm working on myself as well because I have it to be very hard on myself with my goals. So that's still a work in progress. But I have found that has brought that has improved my overall mental health and just continuing to do things to get on the
So
court, put some shots up from time to time.
so
Those things that brought me joy before I had all these goals and responsibilities that I was beating myself
Did he get the
about,
last message?
staying true to those
You can
things
text me.
despite me.
yeah, we lost most of that. But what I heard was Neil was saying that, you know, he's hard on himself and he's working on that. And kind of to sum it up is normalizing failure as well.
Right.
You know, failure is okay.
Right.
It's part of the path to success.
And self-care, guys, what I want to hear as we wrap up, because we're a couple minutes over, what I want you guys to get from this audience, more than anything, I want you to hear these men. And I want you to understand that what they go through is what you all probably are going through, if not more. And what I want you to get from this is that, number one, it's okay. You're not being judged. You're not being, and even though you feel like you are, you're not. It's okay. And number two, what I want you to get from this is, please, like Charles said, talk to people who you trust and who you love to communicate how you feel. You will be amazed at what weight that takes off of you. And it's also a way to manage your self-care as well. It is taking care of yourself. And you're really not unloading on people, because the people who love you will receive that. And they won't receive it as weight or as a burden. They'll receive it as, okay, I'm here for you. I'm here to help you. Whatever you, let's talk. You want to talk about it? Let's do it. Surround yourself with those type of people that you can say, hey, this is how I'm feeling. I'm feeling overwhelmed. I'm feeling, like I'm just not enough. I'm feeling whatever you're feeling. Be able to talk to those around you so you can communicate that. Were there any other questions? Because I'm about to get in my PowerPoint. Okay. So guys, we're gonna wrap it up. You already know I want to have a part two, right? Like, it's gotta happen. We gotta have a sequel. We're gonna be like Fast and Furious in this thing. We're gonna have mental health part 12. Don't judge me,
We're
Ray.
going to the moon.
Don't judge
We're
me.
going to space.
So,
Because they're going to space right now.
I mean, it's too good. It's too good to not talk about. We got to do it again. So what I'm going to do to close this out, I got just a couple of points to put up so people can know what we're about, what we're talking about with Health Hub, especially on embracing the mental health of our men. So one, like we talked about before, you want to make sure that you create community. I think Charles was talking about that. making sure you surround yourself with people who are able to receive what you're giving them in a positive way. You don't need people that's going to, be like, what's wrong with, or I'm gonna date myself. You don't need people that jank on you. Y'all remember that word? Probably not. Okay, it's fine. Don't worry about it. It's cool. So can I get my,
I'm working on it.
so anyway, we want to create community. You want to make sure you surround yourself with those type of people. Okay, can they see this?
Hey.
No, I don't know if they can see it or just me.
We can see it.
Now I'm over at this newfangled stuff.
Okay, so Ray working on it. Ray working on it. So
go on. Get.
but I can't do.
I got you.
Okay, I'm ready. Next
slide.
Next.
Okay.
So what I'm talking about now are 4 ways to help combat feelings of despair. Next one. Can I just tap? Acknowledge your feelings. So what I said was actually not the first one, but it's all in line with what I'm saying. Acknowledge your feelings. We already talked about that. If I know what is happening in my environment, I can allow myself to make shifts. So acknowledge, say, hey, it's okay for me to feel like this. What do I need to do next? Okay. We already talked about creating community. Prioritize self-care with boundaries. This is a big one. So we have to have self-advocacy. We have to prioritize ourselves. This is not selfish. Just because you say, no, I'm not able to do that, does not mean you're selfish. It means you're looking out for your mental health, and it's okay. Boundaries allow you to protect yourself. Boundaries are like a set of rules that you have in order to function and to have healthier experiences with people, places, and things. It's needed. Boundaries are needed, and it's okay. Seek therapy. Like Ray said, normalize therapy. Make it a thing. I would love to see more people in our Black community saying, girl, no, I can't meet up today. I got to meet with my therapist at 2, or yeah, man, I can't, I'm gonna have to miss out on the basketball game. I'm not able, I got to go meet with my therapist. Let's make that okay. It's okay. And if you need to talk, if you need to have somebody to help you stay focused on this journey, there's nothing wrong with that. Okay. So those are the 4 things to help with comfort or seeking comfort in your mental stability. The next slide is just a couple of places you can reach out to if you're feeling vulnerable, if you're feeling depressed or low or sad, to the point that talking to somebody and your family's not helping, all the things that you tried is not helping. Please, please, please reach out to these people, the Suicide Prevention Lifeline, Anxiety and Depression Association of America, the National Alliance on Mental Illness, and the Association of Black Psychologists. I love the last one. I had no idea it existed till I started digging for this discussion. But there are, when you go to this, you can call them, and there's a website. So when you go to them, you can actually put your city in, and a whole list of Black psychologists will come up, and you're able to choose from that. I thought that was perfect. And also, these are websites you can go to. Help. I named it Help Without Judgment. That's just what I named it. But here are some areas you can go: Therapy for Black Men Heal, Psychology Today, and Alchemy Health. So, and I got a little bit of what they do on this PowerPoint. You guys reach out if you want to. If you want me to get this to you, I can happily do that for you. You can DM me if you want to, and I can get that to you, or you can Google this as well. Okay. My whole concern is that you do something. Okay. We care about you and we want you well, whole, all the way around. Okay. So I'm gonna wrap this up, guys. It was perfect. I wish I can go on and on because it's such a topic. It's a couple of questions I wanted to ask, but I think that would have went down another rabbit hole that we don't have time for, but I'm gonna get to it. It involves our women. Yes, I said it.
Hey,
So I love y'all girls. I love y'all, but sometimes we a lot for our men. So yes, we're gonna talk about that. There will be a part two. Charles, Mike, and Neil, you guys are awesome. And I'm not just saying that because I know you. You really are. You came to my mind because of who you are. So I know that you're doing great things and continue to do great things. You are such a mentor for our men in our community, and I salute you. Thank you guys so much for taking time out of your schedule to do this. I will be calling you out again for other things. Keep your phone on. So thank y'all so much, and thank you for joining us, guys. I really appreciate it. We're going to get into mental health again a little later on. There will be a part two. I'm not kidding about that. There will be a part two. We're going to talk about it. Thank you guys so much for joining us. Have a great rest of your day and a great weekend. See you guys later. Bye.